The ABC 17 Stormtrack Severe Weather Special, sponsored by ATR Towing and Recovery and Boone Electric Cooperative, starts now.
While winter weather continues for much of mid-Missouri, parts of the country along the Mississippi and Missouri rivers have already seen devastating flooding. Thanks for joining us for the ABC 17 Stormtrack Severe Weather Special. I'm Chief Meteorologist Jessica Quick. The floodwaters have receded following weeks of historic flooding in Mississippi earlier this year. The state saw significant spring-like flooding for much of February that prompted thousands to evacuate their homes. And in North Dakota, the United States Army Corps of Engineers has already increased the water release of the Missouri River at Gavins Point Dam from 35,000 to 38,000 cubic feet per second as a preemptive measure ahead of elevated flood risks for 2020. And with the Missouri and Mississippi rivers meeting right here in Missouri, emergency management officials are already bracing the state to experience significant flooding this severe weather season. During the Stormtrack Severe Weather Special, the Stormtrack weather team will tell you everything you need to know to prepare, tracking everything from flood chances, tornado impacts, power outages, and what you can expect as mid-Missouri begins to thaw for the summer.
We'll also break down the process and protocol for cutting into regular programming during severe weather. We'll go through the criteria we consider and why we cut in for some severe weather events and not others. Many times we get emails following break-in coverage saying, well, it was sunny at my house. There was no reason for you to cut into my favorite TV show or sports broadcast. In tonight's special, we'll clear up any confusion on why we make those decisions.
It is nearly impossible to predict the exact location of a tornado until it's happening, so taking measurements to determine the strength of a storm is tough. Instead of measuring the wind speed of a cyclone while it's happening, meteorologists can determine the strength of a tornado based upon the destruction that it causes. However, the system we currently use poses a big flaw that impacts many regions over our viewing area. We dove into the topic to find out more.
Also in tonight's special, the Stormtrack weather team is looking into how we can identify tornadoes using only radar. We have a way using just radar to identify whether or not a rotating storm is actively causing damage using debris tracker. I'll take a look at that tool and hopefully we don't have to use it this severe season.
An early alert to dangerous weather can mean the difference between life and death. We're diving in deeper into the process that meteorologists at the National Weather Service go through in order to issue warnings during severe weather events. Plus, I'll walk you through just how each warning could impact you.
And we are tracking your long-range spring forecast. We'll tell you what you need to keep your family safe this severe weather season, to give you an idea what to expect this spring with an active pattern ahead, along with what's normal for mid-Missouri from March through May. By now, you've probably heard about ABC 17 Stormtrack Weather Alert Days, but what exactly is a Weather Alert Day? The Stormtrack Weather Team will issue a Weather Alert Day in the spring and summer months for weather events that bring the threat of widespread tornadic activity in the viewing area. Strong thunderstorms, heavy rain that brings the possibility for flash flooding or hail, and for high wind speeds enough to cause damage. The Stormtrack Weather Team will also issue Weather Alert Days for a heat index over 100 degrees. And as you may know, Missouri weather at times seems unpredictable, but the Stormtrack Weather Team analyzes several different forecast models days in advance to give you the most notice possible. The ABC 17 Stormtrack Weather Team works around the clock 365 days a year to bring you up-to-the-minute details for weather conditions across mid-Missouri. And you can keep up with all the changes 24/7 online at abc17news.com. Once on the site, look for the Weather tab. There you'll have access to live Doppler radar as well as a Stormtrack Insider blog and the 7-day forecast for Columbia and Jefferson City. You can also take those tools with you on the go with the ABC 17 Stormtrack Weather app. That's available for download in the Apple or Google Play stores. The start of the severe weather season means it's becoming more likely we cut into scheduled programming for severe weather. ABC 17 Stormtrack meteorologist Luke Victor joins me here in the studio. And Luke, there's a lot of decision making and planning that goes into that kind of coverage.
Yeah, Jessica, sometimes it's a football game or maybe The Bachelor, and hopefully this can shed some light on what we as meteorologists consider whenever we're seeing these storms roll into mid-Missouri. Has a severe thunderstorm warning associated with it, meaning it'll have 60+ mile-an-hour winds and the potential of 1-inch diameter hail. If anything changes here over the next several minutes, we'll be sure to cut back into coverage and let you know what's going on.
3, 2, 1, and Luke, you're cleared.
Situations like these are probably going to become a little bit more common, especially as we head into the severe weather season. Cutting into coverage, and sometimes it overlaps your favorite TV show or maybe a sports broadcast, and we do not take that decision lightly, but our #1 goal here at ABC 17 is protecting Mid-Missouri and providing critical weather information, especially during severe weather season when time really matters. And we don't just cover one household, we cover several hundreds of thousands of households across all of Mid-Missouri. And these aren't just numbers on a map, these are families that need to be protected in dire severe weather situations. And while you might have sunny skies at your house, there might be storms somewhere else. As we know, the weather can be very variable here in Mid-Missouri. And we cover anything from flood warnings, but those are a little bit more rare, to severe thunderstorm warnings. We monitor what are the threats and how widespread are they, and we can cover those for anywhere between 30 seconds to several minutes. And for a tornado warning, we're covering it no matter what, and we are going to go until the threat is over. We have to remember, here at ABC 17, our #1 goal is protecting you and your family as these threats move into our area. Reporting for the Stormtrack weather team, I'm meteorologist Luke Victor.
With spring storms just around the corner, it's important for us to understand which parts of the weather can be dangerous. ABC 17 Stormtrack forecaster Maddie S. dove into the dangers of lightning and how it forms.
In order for us to get lightning, we first have to have warm air rising that's going to create some clouds. Now, within these clouds, there are going to be water and ice particles present. Now, when those collide, that's what's going to create those electric charges that are necessary for the formation of lightning. Now, both positive and negative charges are created from these collisions, and those are going to separate out to where the cloud top becomes a positive charge, whereas the cloud bottom becomes negative. Now this all seems fine and dandy, but take a look at the ground. The ground is going to be positively charged, and that's where we're going to start seeing attraction between the bottom of the cloud base and the ground. Now, the energy from the negative charges is going to go toward the positive charge, and that's where we're going to start seeing those flashes of lightning. It's actually energy moving between the charges, and that's where we're going to start seeing that danger of both cloud-to-cloud lightning and cloud-to-ground. But in all actuality, positive strikes from the very top of the cloud anvil striking toward negative portions of the ground are actually what causes the most deaths. Now here in the United States, we average about 49 lightning-related deaths a year, but hundreds of more injuries. So if you are outside and you happen to see a flash of lightning, just know you need to get inside and take cover.
A new power grid system in downtown Jefferson City hopes to shorten the length of power outages in that area. ABC 17's Connor Hirsch spoke with Ameren and business owners downtown about how this could help out during the upcoming storm season. And Connor, the new grid system could shorten power outages from hours to minutes.
8 new smart switchgears in downtown Jefferson City will communicate with each other if there's any storm damage to reroute power as soon as possible. And this could mean the world to businesses downtown facing power outages.
I mean, we're pretty much at a standstill when it happens.
Brandon Scott, owner of Haute Salon downtown, said long power outages can bring their business to a complete stop.
Even if it happens once a year, I mean, it's a day of work, you know, so waiting until Ameren fixes the issue.
And this is really being put in place to address those issues and really going forward provide better reliability for our customers.
The smart grid system has been in the works since 2019 and includes all of downtown Jefferson City, including essential state, city, and county office buildings as well as homes and businesses. Superintendent of Ameren, Missouri, Chip Webb, said last year was an unusually active year for storms. Ameren responded to 35 storm events, which he said is nearly double the average.
In the past, before the system was in place, what might have been a several-hour outage is reduced to minutes or even seconds.
And the tornado that tore through the capital city is one big example. Mayor Carrie Turgeon said that proves having power in the downtown area is essential during disasters.
We know that reliable power is critical for a safe community. We relied on that, especially during the tornado, to keep things up and running.
And for business owners like Scott, shortening outages would make a big difference.
That would be huge. I mean, that would give us enough time to just take a pause and hopefully things back up and running in no time.
This project was funded through the Smart Energy Plan, which was a part of a Senate bill that was passed back in 2018. Reporting in Jefferson City, Connor Hirsch, ABC 17 News.
Ameren says they've been working on more than 900 other projects across the state since 2019, and all are a part of the same plan. Later in the show, I'll give you an idea of what to expect as we move into the warmer months in the ABC 17 Stormtrack extended forecast. And still to come, we're taking a closer look at how a new alert system is expected to improve warnings for potentially severe weather in mid-Missouri.
You're watching the ABC 17 Stormtrack Severe Weather Special.
Welcome back to the ABC 17 Stormtrack Severe Weather Special. Less than a year ago, Jefferson City was issued a tornado emergency due to the looming threat of a confirmed tornado. ABC 17 Stormtrack forecaster Maddie S. dove deeper into the processes behind issuing those warnings.
I traveled to St. Louis to the National Weather Service office located just outside the city to meet with Jared Maples, one of the current meteorologists at that office. Now he knows the process behind how watches and warnings are issued firsthand. The meteorologists at the National Weather Service use cutting-edge technology in order to have minute-by-minute updates on how storm systems are behaving in the event that they turn dangerous. Once they've identified potentially dangerous situations, the team's next job is to communicate that danger to the public. Jared Maples explained to me the process behind issuing watches and warnings during severe weather, and I saw firsthand the software used to issue those warnings so that the public can view them. Essentially, both watches and warnings are used to grab the attention of people at risk through using a hierarchy of watches and warnings that can be issued to tell the severity of a storm system. On May 23, 2019, Jefferson City was issued a tornado emergency. I asked Jared to explain just what that meant to the responders and residents in the city.
There was another warning after that called a tornado emergency that they had updated, and a lot of people question, well, what is a tornado emergency? That is a step we've taken in the last few years with our warnings. The severe thunderstorm warning has a tornado tag. That kind of tells you, well, this severe thunderstorm severe has a tornado possible. Well, the tornado emergency is kind of the same idea. It gives you a step up from the tornado warning.
No matter if you are under a watch, warning, or tornado emergency, you should be sure to keep an eye on the weather so that you can stay safe. Jared emphasized the point that any time a watch or warning is issued by the National Weather Service, then there is a perceivable threat that they are making you aware of. With recent technological advances, there are now more ways than ever to communicate weather information between the National Weather Service and yourself.
People are finally, I think, taking interest in how the process actually works, and the difference between watches and warnings. We just still have a little bit more work to do, I think.
And the discussion continues in Cole County on how to best alert the public of severe weather emergencies.
Meanwhile, mid-Missouri safety officials are encouraging the public to sign up for emergency notifications. ABC 17's Joe McLean spoke to leaders in Boone and Cole County about how they're preparing to get the word out during severe weather season.
This is the newest of 31 different severe weather sirens that were installed in Cole County since 2012. We told you back in November, last year's tornado sparked a discussion about the protocol for sounding them off during emergencies. Right now, the policy is blaring them once at the beginning of a severe weather warning and once at the end. However, many counties sound off intermittently during the entire weather event, only shutting them off when it's over. JCPD officials say they're considering the change. It's an ongoing discussion with a lot of variables, including efficiency and energy. But last year, Cole County also made the move towards a digital method.
Even after we put in this massive system outdoor, we always wanted something like it's called reverse 911. How can we get people, because it's outdoor, how can we get people in the middle of the night out of bed?
The outdoor warning sirens are just that. They're for outdoor warning. It doesn't mean you won't hear them in your house, but you might not be able to hear them inside a building.
The answer was already being used in Boone, Callaway, and Osage counties, an app called Smart 911. After a months-long integration process and a $20,000 annual contract, the app was rolled out in Cole County in November.
You can sign up for whatever alert you want to hear. It gives you a bank of stuff. You just check what you want to hear.
The weather alerts on people's phones are, most of the time, I think that's their first line of defense, the first time they get that information, and it's very timely.
Coming up in the ABC 17 Stormtrack Severe Weather Special, the Stormtrack weather team is taking a closer look at the potential threats tornadoes can bring less than 1 year after a powerful storm flattened parts of the capital city. Following last year's EF3 tornado that tore through parts of mid-Missouri, we are taking a closer look at how meteorologists determine the strength of a tornado.
However, there is a flaw in the rating system that may affect mid-Missourians if they find themselves in the path of a tornado. Take a look at these two different tornadoes. They look similar in structure and in size. However, the categorization of these tornadoes are on the opposite side of the scale. The one on the left is an EF0, the weakest type of tornado. The one on the right, an EF5. Meteorologists categorize tornadoes on the EF scale, or the Enhanced FUJITA scale. This scale takes into consideration the damage done by the storm and uses those evaluations to estimate the wind speeds of the tornado. The Jefferson City tornado was an EF3, meaning its wind speeds were estimated to be between 135 and 165 miles an hour, and the damage done was severe. There are 28 damage indicators that help the National Weather Service determine the twister's speed and intensity, like missing shingles, uprooted trees, or houses leveled. It usually takes 1 to 2 days for the National Weather Service to come and survey storm damage, but for an outbreak, it could take up to a week. However, there is a flaw in this system because it does not take into account how urban or rural an area is. This is important for us here in mid-Missouri because such a large percentage of our land is rural. That means a tornado can have wind speeds over 200 miles an hour, but if it touches down in a cornfield and does no structural damage, it'll be categorized as an EF0. Tornadoes that reach an EF5 are very rare. Since the year 1950, there have only been 59 EF5 tornadoes reported for the entire United States, and that's less than 1 per year. Regardless of its scale, any and all tornadoes are dangerous and should be taken seriously. They can grow and shrink rapidly, leaving you with not much time to shelter if it's headed in your direction. Make sure you know the proper way to shelter in place in your home, and have the ABC 17 Stormtrack weather app downloaded so you can keep alerted and prepared if another tornado outbreak should happen. The wind speeds of a tornado are determined after it happens, so if you're ever told to take shelter, do so immediately because tornadoes of any strength can be deadly.
We all remember that outbreak of severe weather last May. ABC 17 Stormtrack meteorologist Kevin Schneider explains one of the more helpful tools that helps us tremendously when tracking potentially tornadic storms.
If you live in Jefferson City, you need to be in your tornado shelter now. This thing is on the ground.
Eldon's pretty much on top of you. As she mentioned, you need to be in your safe spot right now. Into Olean, 11:08, Lowman, 11:25, Wardsville by 11:34, and then into Jefferson City by 11:41.
So if you live in any of those mobile homes around Jefferson City and you have a place to go this time of night, get there now. That is going to be moving in fairly quickly, and here's a look at debris tracker. Again, we haven't seen anything in the way of a definite relationship there, but we are seeing a bit of a lowering right in. We were able to provide almost 40 minutes of lead time to folks in Jefferson City and other portions of Cole County, due in large part to what we were seeing on radar. We noticed what's called a tornado debris signature using debris tracker, which told us something was going on the ground. This isn't what we normally show on air because it's a bit more complex to explain. Since we don't often have time to stop and explain this when we're tracking the storm live on air, I thought this would be a good chance to get this in before severe weather moves into mid-Missouri. Basically, we can tell how similar what the things the radar is detecting are to one another. So if they have all rain showing up, it looks one way, or if it's a mix of rain and snow, that looks another way. The way we have this colored, however, we can differentiate between rain, hail, or snow and what's not weather related. Bugs, birds, and other ground clutter are some of the more common things we can pick up on radar since they come in all different sizes. Debris being lofted by a tornado will also show up the same since it's typically not the same shape. Notice what happened as that tornadic storm moved into the capital city. Those dark blues showed up once again, which happens to line up with the damage survey conducted by the National Weather Service.
This product was originally intended to fact-check the radar to see whether or not we could trust the data coming in.
Yeah, but it's developed into a critical tool to help track severe weather when that rolls in.
And it's been a warm and quiet start to our spring here in mid-Missouri, but what's in store for the next 3 months? I'm tracking the potential for an active severe weather season and spring river flooding in my long-range forecast. Coming off an active spring 2019, the ABC 17 Stormtrack weather team has already been keeping a close eye on large-scale weather patterns to predict what to expect this spring. I'm breaking down what will drive severe weather over the next few months. In a special report last month, I told you we can expect significant flooding along the Missouri River again this spring. That still holds true, with the newest data showing increased potential of moderate flooding in many mid-Missouri locations. This spring is expected to be active with wet conditions March through May. The pattern will be much like this winter, with frequent rounds of storms and rain along with quiet, calm periods. We're already seeing above-average rainfall since last year, and many of the same places that saw costly, problematic flooding will be under the gun again, including Jefferson City. There's a 60% chance of exceeding moderate flood stage there on the Missouri River. When forecasting for months at a time, we tend to look at large-scale patterns like the El Niño Southern Oscillation. These patterns tell us whether the ocean temperatures are above or below normal and where the jet streams will set up, a key factor in storm development in all seasons. We've been in a neutral pattern all year, and there likely won't be a significant shift through spring. That means we'll have to rely on smaller scale changes to predict storm chances. However, the jet stream will be a bit more variable. Last spring, we were in a weak El Niño phase, historically indicating it should have been a little bit drier, but that turned out not to be the case, with obvious spring flooding and the active severe weather season. Severe weather favors a La Niña pattern, with both the polar and Pacific jet streams increasing storm development. The jet stream plays a huge role in thunderstorms as it helps increase the wind shear, a necessary ingredient for storms to become severe or even begin to rotate. Even with a weak El Niño in 2019, Missouri came away with 66 confirmed tornadoes. The climatological average over the last 25 years is 25 tornadoes for the Show Me State from March through May. The yearly average is 34. Every mid-Missouri county is at risk for tornadoes, especially in May. Since 1950, Boone County has recorded 32 tornadoes and Cole County 10, not including the EF3 from May 22nd of last year. Given the neutral pattern this year, we'll likely see a normal to slightly more active severe weather season. Temperatures are expected to be near normal, with an average March to May temperature of 54.5. This number combines the average high and low temperature of each month. Precipitation is expected to be above normal with weekly storm systems. The average amount of precipitation for meteorological spring in mid-Missouri is about 12.4 inches of rain. And like I mentioned earlier, you can stay ahead of all the changes this spring with the ABC 17 Stormtrack weather app. Our weather app will give you access to the Stormtrack Insider blog. It also notifies you of watches and warnings in your area. You can download the ABC 17 Stormtrack weather app for free from the Apple or Google Play stores. Thanks for joining us tonight for the ABC 17 Stormtrack Severe Weather Special. If you missed any part of it, you can rewatch it anytime on our website, abc17news.com. For the Stormtrack Weather Team, I'm Chief Meteorologist Jessica Quick. Have a great night.
You've been watching the ABC 17 Stormtrack Severe Weather Special, sponsored by ATR Towing and Recovery and Boone Electric Cooperative.